Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the most chaotic, pivotal, and world-changing years in modern history, 1947 in India. It's a year that saw both a catastrophic division and, at the very same time, a miraculous unification.
So let's jump right in with the story of one man, Sir Cyril Radcliffe. Now, he was a respected British lawyer, but here's the kicker. He was chosen for this monumental task precisely because he knew nothing about India. The thinking was, this made him neutral, the perfect impartial judge to draw a border between two brand new nations.
So why the rush? Well, the British Empire was in a full-blown rapid retreat. Their motto had basically become divide and quit. And that meant the timeline they gave Radcliffe wasn't just short, it was impossibly reckless.
And that brings us to the first part of our story, the truly monumental and, as we'll see, tragically rushed task of drawing that impossible line. Okay, just look at this timeline. It's staggering. Radcliffe gets to India on July 8th, and the deadline is August 15th. That's it. 38 days to partition a subcontinent. He had absolutely no time to travel, to see the villages, the rivers, the communities his pen would slice through forever. He was literally stuck in a room in Delhi, working with outdated maps and unreliable census data.
The whole massive process really boiled down to two incredibly difficult decisions: Calcutta and Lahore. Now, Calcutta was pretty straightforward because of its Hindu majority, but Lahore was a different beast entirely. It had a mixed population, and most of its businesses and industry were owned by Hindus and Sikhs. It was a really tough call. In the end, Radcliffe gave it to Pakistan, arguing that the new country just couldn't survive without a major city to anchor it.
But get this, the division wasn't just about land. It was about everything. I mean, every single asset of the state had to be split down the middle. We're talking files, furniture, library books. They even argued over a single case of 60 ducks that had just arrived from England. Nothing was too small to fight over. So you have this incredibly rushed, abstract division, and it leads directly to the immense, devastating human cost to partition. A cost that, and this is crucial, was deliberately hidden from the public until after the independence celebrations were over. Once those new borders were finally announced on August 17th, 2 days after independence, mind you, the result was a human catastrophe. 20 million people, that's 2 crore, were suddenly on the wrong side of the line. They were forced to abandon their homes, creating the largest and one of the most violent mass migrations we have ever seen. And this was no peaceful parting of ways, not at all. Communal violence erupted on a scale that is just horrifying to imagine. Hundreds of thousands, lakhs of people were killed as convoys of refugees were attacked on their desperate journeys to safety. And maybe the most horrifying symbol of this violence became what were known as the ghost trains. Trains would pull into stations like Amritsar or Lahore, packed to the brim, but completely silent. No one would get off. When the doors were finally opened, they were just filled with the bodies of murdered refugees. And the sheer rage, the bitterness of that moment, you can feel it in messages like this one, found scrawled in chalk on the side of one of those ghost trains. It's just a brutal testament to the suffering that this new border had caused. Yet, in the middle of all this horror, a single 78-year-old man did something an army of 55,000 soldiers in Punjab couldn't. Gandhi arrived in Calcutta, a city about to explode, and began a fast unto death. As he grew weaker and weaker, the city's conscience just stirred. Gang leaders actually came to his bedside, laid down their weapons, and swore to stop the killing, and peace returned. It was later called the Miracle of Calcutta.
It's a crazy paradox, right? Because while Radcliffe's line was tearing British India apart, a second equally dangerous threat was popping up that could have shattered the new nation of India from within.
565. That's the number you need to remember. With the British gone, all their old treaties with 565 princely states were now null and void. Suddenly, all these kingdoms, big and small, were free. They could join India, they could join Pakistan, or they could just become their own independent countries. This created a nightmare scenario. Just imagine a map of India, but it's riddled with hundreds of independent holes, making a unified, functional country totally impossible. It would have looked like a slice of Swiss cheese.
So, who could possibly fix this mess? Well, the task fell to 2 men, India's Home Minister, the formidable Sardar Patel, and his brilliant right-hand man, a civil servant named V.P. Menon. These 2 were the architects of India's integration.
And their methods were a masterclass in diplomacy. They used charm, they appealed to patriotism, and they used a whole lot of pressure.
and it led to some unbelievably dramatic moments. I mean, in Jodhpur, the young Maharaja actually pulled a pistol on Menon right after signing the papers. And in Junagadh, you had this eccentric, dog-loving Nawab who tried to join Pakistan before fleeing with his pets when the Indian army showed up at his border. You can't make this stuff up.
Okay, so that brings us to the final, and maybe the most complex and contentious piece of this whole nation-building puzzle, the state of Jammu and Kashmir.
Kashmir was basically the exact opposite of Junagadh. Here you had a Hindu ruler, Maharaja Hari Singh, governing a Muslim-majority population. Now, Pakistan's founder, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, totally expected Kashmir to fall into his lap. But the Maharaja? He had other plans. He was dreaming of creating an independent Switzerland of the East.
And then, in October 1947, things just exploded. To force the issue, Pakistan backed an invasion of tribal warriors from the northwest. With his own army collapsing, a desperate Hari Singh finally signed the Instrument of Accession, officially joining India in exchange for military help. The very next morning, Indian troops were airlifted into Srinagar, right in the nick of time.
And here's where history turns on a dime. India was only able to secure the capital because the invading force made one critical mistake. Just 30 miles away from their main target, the Srinagar airport, they stopped to loot the town of Baramulla. That fateful delay gave the Indian army just enough time to land and save the valley. After a UN-brokered ceasefire in 1949, the line of control was established in Kashmir. And with that, plus the integration of almost all the princely states, the map of modern India was pretty much complete. Sure, a few small French and Portuguese colonies and the Kingdom of Sikkim would join over the next few decades, but the real heavy lifting was done. So in the end, 1947 is just a year of profound contradictions. You have one story, the story of a line drawn on a map that created a tragedy of unimaginable proportions. And at the exact same time, you have another story of erasing hundreds of internal lines that performed a miracle of integration. And it's this dual legacy, this story of both division and unity, that continues to shape the subcontinent to this very day.